Hi, Baji.
Hi, Sufi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Can I tell you something I did this morning?
Yeah?
I was on the Howard Stern show.
Oh, that's fun.
It's very fun, and it's very fun because Dad, more than us, because he was a commuter. Dad used to listen to Howard Stern all the time. And I feel like he would come home and he would tell us how funny Howard Stern was. And so it's a very nice circle of life thing to be doing Howard Stern show.
Do you sit in your own little booth when you do Stern?
You just sit in a little booth and you just talk to Howard Stern.
That's
it's
great.
Nice. I will say the other thing is I feel like when it starts, I'm always like a little bit nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, oh, I'm talking to Howard Stern, and then he's so good.
Yeah.
Because he like makes you so comfortable, and then at the end, he like wraps it up, and then while he wraps it up, and then I think you go, oh, it's over. I feel like that went really well, and then he asks you like a half an hour more questions.
Do you think they're recording those? And
no, they are. He does this fake out where he's like, we got Seth Meyers here. Check him out every night on late night. I'm just terrible Howard Stern impression. He's like, hey, one more. I gotta ask you something. Tell me about this. And I'm like, oh, he did it. He got my guard down. But he's a real delight.
So he lulls you into a false sense of security, and then he gets the good stuff.
And just for our guests, if any of our future guests are listening, we're gonna start using this lull move.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I've got 28 Years Later. It's coming out this weekend as we record this intro. Zombies, and I've got 11 people on my ticket res.
Really?
Get a big group together. Yeah.
When is it? When does it come out?
I think it comes out technically on the Thursday of this week, but I will be seeing it on June 21st.
June 21st. Now, okay. What is your memory of the first two films? Do you feel like you remember everything that happened?
I definitely don't remember everything. That's not the kind of brain I have.
Well, do you have any interest in going back and watching them? Or are you just going to be like,
I just don't know if I'm going to have time.
Yeah.
I would say I probably remember 28 Days Later more than I remember 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah, I think that's true. They're great movies.
Yeah, they're really good spookers. And
fast zombies.
Yeah, they were the first. They sort of broke the mold on fast zombies.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like this idea that like without brains or whatever we thought zombies were. I guess zombies like to eat brains.
Yeah,
but there was something that happened when they became zombie that they were sort of slow and shuffly. And then Danny Boyle was like, "Nah, they're gonna run like crazy. They want to get them sweet brains."
Yeah. Well, they say like we have like a governor switch in our brains that like if you're working out or if you're doing something, like there's something in your brain that says stop.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a zombie has that thing that's like, oh yeah,
this is too
don't
much.
Exert yourself.
I don't think zombies at the end of a night are like, was I too much? Like I feel like the whole night I was just like
yeah.
I do remember, I don't want to ruin anything about. Well, I also think it was like a rage disease because like they let some like crazy monkeys out of a cage that they were like.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a rage virus more than anything else.
Yeah.
But remember, it was just a little bit of blood. If you got a little bit of blood in you, from the zombies.
Yeah.
Our dear friend Brendan Gleeson, who you've maybe never met, and I wouldn't say thinks I'm his dear friend, but he was in the film In Bruges, and I love him a great deal. He gets got. The way he gets got, I think about a lot. And I don't want to give anything away, but don't look up if there's a dead zombie hanging from wires above you.
Good advice. Good advice. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a movie. Oh, you know what? I don't. Certainly, I didn't see Lilo and Stitch when it came out because I was an adult when it came out. But it's a pretty fun animated movie. And there's a live action Lilo and Stitch, and there's a live action How to Train Your Dragon. And so I'm kind of excited to have a couple of movies like that I hear are good, and maybe parents will actually like them.
Our dear friend, truly dear friend, Jill Benjamin.
Yeah,
I was in a movie with her recently, and that trailer for Lilo and Stitch came on, and I was like, "Have you ever seen any of these movies?" And she's like, "No," and she was very offended. And I was like, well, I mean, you have kids. Like, have your kids maybe ever seen these movies? I don't know if these are really good. I've missed them. I'm an adult. I don't have kids. And she's like, I wouldn't know. And she was so
yeah.
Because she like has her kids see movies like The Descent, and she'll bring them to probably to 28 Years Later, and they're not.
By the way, also, if you said to Jill, like, have you seen The English Patient? She'd be like, I don't know. Like, we should let people know that at large, there's a good chance that Jill doesn't know what the heck you're talking about.
Yeah, Jill will be joining us on our live podcast recording in Amsterdam.
I'm very excited for everybody to hear Jill for the first time.
Yeah, but we're going to have a bunch of our old cohort jumping in with some stories about their parents visiting them in Amsterdam and how things went well or poorly.
Can't wait.
Yeah, very excited.
This is a delightful human being, and I'm very excited for you all to listen to Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, he's got a new show, Murderbot.
Yeah.
And that Murderbot, this was totally unintentional on my part, or maybe it was what's something that happens in your brain that sort of something.
Subconscious?
Subconscious. Yeah, maybe it was a subconscious tie-in. But Murderbot has a governor switch that goes off. Yeah.
I think Murderbot, I don't know what you'd have to do to earn it, but I'd be pretty psyched if my nickname was Murderbot. You know what I mean?
I think it would make people afraid of you.
I think it'd be fun if you were like, if all my friends called me Murderbot and people are like, how'd you get that nickname? And I would go, I don't remember. I think it'd be a fun nickname to like, and they'd be like, you don't remember why people call you Murderbot? I'm like, no, I'm sure there was something.
Yeah. Maybe I murdered a robot. You a robot?
You a robot? I sure don't like them when they're around. By the way, this is for obviously for video only. But I feel like I for the last couple of weeks I've done a C-3PO impression on the show. I just want to show it to you real quick.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. So that's just
another thing that's video only that it sort of burned me on this, but because we're having Alexander Skarsgård on this pod, a Swede. Famously Swedish.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, I'm going to wear a yellow t-shirt and a blue hoodie.
Smart.
Swedish colors.
Smart.
And he's going to be like, hey. And
my dude.
It does not get mentioned, and then I get way too hot, and I got to take my sweatshirt off. Yeah.
So you really struck out.
Yeah.
Now, all right, I have a question. We're going to be in Amsterdam in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Let's say someone's like, hey, you're back for the Boom Chicago anniversary. Can I interview you for a local paper? Say, the Volkskrant.
So you
or
sit
the
down. Handelsblad.
Yeah. Algemeen Dagblad. So you, NRC Handelsblad. So you sit down with this reporter.
Yeah.
They're wearing blue jeans, white t-shirt, red scarf.
Mm-hmm.
Are you immediately like, hey, that's my flag? My point is, what did you fucking think?
I thought I was showing some Swedish respect.
And you thought he'd go like, hey, man. By the way, like, I think every Swede's nightmare is you see somebody wearing blue and yellow and you're like, hey, I know what you're doing. And then that person's like, what? Like, if he like assumed you were like dressing up like his flag.
I'm letting the video watchers among you, which aren't very many for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are on video. You can go over to YouTube. I put these songs on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe like 300 people watch them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, you put just the songs?
The songs have to live alone.
Oh, separate. Right.
Yeah. And people aren't clicking over. And
do you think it's a bad sign that your co-host of the show is like, what do you do?
No, I knew you didn't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sounds pretty cool. Let's get it up to 301, baby.
Yeah.
Well, Pashi, thanks for wearing the flag of surrender. Josh is wearing a white t-shirt. All right, listen up.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
There
guys.
he is. iPad 108 is your name on your thing. Have you gone through 108 iPads?
Yeah, I smash one a week, basically.
That is a big sticking point in my marriage because I am on my AirPods are like AirPod 11. It drives my wife crazy that I'm on my 11th pair of AirPods.
I just listened to your interview on Talk Easy the other day, Seth, and you revealed that you smash a lot of things.
I do. I kind of am a smasher. I'm an old school
You're a
smasher.
smasher.
I'm glad that was your takeaway. By the
So
way,
you're not even impressed by my 107 smashed iPads.
no, I'm like, dude, come on. How are you, friend?
I'm pretty good.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. It's been a couple years.
Yeah, you look like you're on the set of a film noir.
Well, my life is a film noir. So I'm back. I'm actually back home after a couple of weeks or 2 months of traveling, basically. So I just got back home a few days ago.
And when you say home, do you mean Los Angeles?
I mean Stockholm.
That's okay. That was kind of hopeful, just based on the time we're doing this.
All right.
I'm way happier.
Are you guys?
Stockholm.
I'm so sorry about the timing of this. Are you guys?
No.
I'm on dream for me.
I'm
New York
California,
City,
but it's fine. You're not the earliest we've ever done, and sometimes we do it for New Yorkers. So,
how far away do you live from where you grew up? Right now,
I live about 4 blocks from the apartment in which I grew up, and my two brothers and their families now reside in that apartment. So we still have it. We've had that apartment in the family since 1980.
Wow.
Did you have a sense when you were growing up that you would be living this close? Did you love it that much, or was this a path that you're surprised?
No,
by?
I was very eager to get out of there. Not only the apartment, but like Stockholm, Sweden. I was adamant about leaving. So I left for, first the military when I was 18, and then when I was 20, I moved to Leeds, and then New York, and then LA, and then back to New York. And I was gone for over 20 years. And for most of those 2 decades, I loved going back to visit Stockholm, but I never really anticipated moving back. Until a few years ago. Yeah.
It's one of the most stunning cities I've ever been in. I mean, I can understand when you live there, it maybe doesn't feel that way, but I've been lucky enough to go a few times, and I am very taken aback by the beauty of Stockholm.
I think I needed 2 decades away to appreciate that. You know, growing up there, I didn't really see the beauty of it. Like I said, 2 of my brothers, they divided our childhood apartment into 2 apartments. So Gus, his wife, and 2 kids live in one part of the apartment, and Sam, his wife, and 2 kids live in the other part. And my dad and his wife and my 2 brothers live a block away. My sister lives a block away. So everyone is I'm the furthest away. But again, when I left, I was the only one who moved to the States. Everyone that was kind of like stayed in Stockholm. My dad works abroad a lot, obviously, but he always had Stockholm as a base. So I was the only one away.
I like that you're the black sheep because you live 4 blocks away.
The outcast.
So you're the oldest of your siblings, and you have it seems like a great many.
Yeah.
Do you have? Is it all? Do you have only one sister? Is it all boys and one sister?
I don't know. I think we're about half a dozen boys. No, we're more than that. We're 7 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
How do you think she perceives her upbringing based on how that broke down statistically?
Well, I do know that she's number 5 in the order. And I know when my mom was pregnant with number 6, she was very little. But even as a 2-3-year-old, she was really concerned that it would be a girl because she loved being the only girl. So she was like not excited about the prospect of sharing that attention with another girl. But then when she found out that she was going to have a baby brother, she was very pleased. So she's quite happy about being the only girl.
All right, good. I'm glad she in the end got what she wanted.
Well, yeah. she had a tendency to always get what she wanted when she was a kid.
Were you guys, I would imagine, a fairly chaotic home growing up with that many kids running around?
Yeah, it was also a very large extended family. My mother's brother, who's also my dad's best friend, lived with his family in the apartment above us in the same apartment building. And then my grandma and grandpa lived across the street in another apartment building. And our apartment was kind of the epicenter of our universe. So everyone kind of gathered most nights of the week in our apartment. And it was a very kind of lively bohemian household. Most of my uncles and aunts are in the arts, like artists or musicians, composers, painters. So it was a lot of very weird, eccentric people. Lovely, but it was mayhem at home. Yeah.
Did you know it was eccentric compared to your other friends, or were you an artist?
Oh yeah. Okay. No, I hated it. I was devastated.
You couldn't wait to get to your military service.
I couldn't wait. Exactly. I was not when I was little, it didn't really bother me. I really loved having my cousins upstairs and like being able to roam. It was fun. Having a big family was fun when I was a kid. When I was entering my teenage years, I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be from a normal family. I wanted my parents to have 2.5 kids, and not 8. And I wanted specifically my dad, who's the most bohemian out of my parents, but I just wanted him to have like a normal job at an office in a cubicle and wear a gray suit and drive a gray Saab. And because I remember like specifically that I want to mention that like the connotations of driving a Saab in Sweden is very different from in the States.
Yeah.
I know in the States it's kind of like a very liberal,
little bougie.
Little bougie. Yeah. In Sweden, Saab and Volvo, most people, like, especially when I was a kid, like 8 out of 10 cars were either a Saab or a Volvo. It was very much like every person, like most
like a Ford Taurus.
Yeah,
Honda Civic.
Taurus was, it was just like no one would react it was very like nondescript, nothing special about it. And
what did he drive?
That was my dream. Well, for many years we didn't have a car at all, and then we had a Fiat Uno. Fiat Panda.
That's a kind of little, by the way, based on what my memory of a Fiat Panda is, that is not a very functional car for a family of 25 or whatever you were.
You should Google image that bad boy. A Fiat Panda from the mid 80s. It was,
oh God.
It's kind of retro cool today, I guess, but when you're 13 and you drive around in that, it looks like a miniature truck.
Yeah.
Or like it almost looks like East European, like a Trabant or something from the 80s. It's very boxy and it definitely doesn't look like a Saab.
I feel like when an Italian car company names it after an Asian bear, that's just their way of saying like, we haven't put a lot of thought into this. Did you, was your dad well known in Sweden? I mean, I think, we kind of got to know him maybe, if my timeline's right, like maybe late 90s he was famous here. But like, what about your upbringing?
Sorry, I digress here. But I when you said like Italian car maker naming it after an Asian animal, there was also in the 80s or early 90s, Hyundai. They made a model called Hyundai Fitta. Fitta, and Fitta in Swedish means vagina. And I guess the Swedish market is very small, so no one bothered checking.
Sure.
And it's actually not. It's Fittas is not. It's actually more. Can I curse on the show? Or?
Please.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so we didn't know it was going to be that one.
So it's slang. It's harsh slang.
The worst one.
So it's not Hyundai vagina. Yeah. It's Hyundai. It didn't sell very well in Sweden.
Yeah.
But
I imagine there
again,
must have been some like rebellious youths who really wanted to
Who loved-
get their hands
They
on
never
one.
have. They never have disposable income to get a car though. The rebellious.
no.
I want to believe that even today at Hyundai in like the marketing department, somebody gives a speech about the Fitta.
The Fitta.
And like
the
we could
Fitta.
never triple check. Triple check.
We don't want another incident here.
Yeah.
A debacle.
Yeah. Again, if you make this mistake, you're the Fitta. That's what they say.
You're
now.
you're the Fitta.
Don't be the Fitta. Don't be the dumb Fitta.
Sorry, you were saying something about...
No, but I also want to applaud. I want to applaud the digression. That was a worthwhile digression. So thank you.
Thank you. Much
Thank you for your
appreciated.
instincts.
Much appreciated.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. Support for family trips comes from Airbnb. Hey, Pashi.
Hey, Sufi. There are a lot of holidays.
Name 3 since you're so confident.
Well, Flag Day, Arbor Day,
Great.
and New Year's Eve. Which
Great.
one of those do you think is a good one to go hang out with friends for?
I would do New Year's Eve unless your friends are trees, in which case Arbor Day.
Okay, good call.
Yep.
I love New Year's Eve. I used to always sort of just chase parties for
Yeah.
New Year's Eve. I always wanted to find like the hottest thing that was going on.
You were a party chaser. You were like, we used to say you were like those people in Twisters, but for parties.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
me. And sometimes there would be 2 parties happening at the same time, like in the most recent Twisters movie. And you sort of feel pulled between them. But, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, me and my friends figured out a better thing to do is to get an Airbnb, go outside the city, go somewhere else, go to a cool little town, and then just be with each other. And it has been the best. And we, for years and years now, have been getting little cabins in little mountain towns, stone's throw away from Los Angeles. And now is kind of the good time to start looking at booking your New Year's Eve Airbnbs.
This is important because people like Pashi are already on it.
Well, I mean, when you're not on it early and then you're not finding the perfect thing for you and your buddies, you feel like you've really dropped the ball. So don't drop the ball this year. Get on Airbnb. You can find just amazing stuff to create some great memories and be with your friends. And that's where the real party is.
And the other thing is, for these memories to be made for people like Pashi, people like you have to put your home on Airbnb as a host. Your home could be worth more than you think. Find out how much more at airbnb.com/host. Support comes from Beam. What's up, Pashi?
What's up, Sufi?
Pashi, I don't need to tell you, my kids are out of school. Less time, for me to do my own thing. More chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of the things I'd like more time to do is, go shopping, make sure I'm getting them healthy food. But our routines are off, our meals are on the go, and that makes it almost impossible for me to make sure my little ones are getting all the vitamins they need every day. That is why I'm excited to introduce you, Pashi, and just you. If other people want to overhear this, that's fine, but I'm telling you, Pashi.
Okay.
Beam Kids All-in-One Super Powder. We have tried a lot of different supplements, and I will tell you that some have greens but no probiotics, another has vitamins but no fiber. Beam Kids is packed with over 40 essential nutrients, including greens, fruits, vitamins, pre- and probiotics, literally everything kids need for healthy growth, strong immune systems, and steady energy throughout the day. It's pediatrician formulated, third-party tested, and co-created by Olympic gold medalist and mom, Shawn Johnson. They've launched a brand new chocolate chip cookie flavor that tastes like dessert and works like a multivitamin. My picky eater asked for seconds of greens. Let that sink in. And now the perfect time to try it because Beam is offering an exclusive deal for our listeners. For a limited time, you can get up to 35% off plus 2 free gifts when you go to shopbeam.com/trips and use code TRIPS at checkout. That's shop, BEAM.com/trips and use code TRIPS for up to 35% off and get 2 free gifts. Seriously, less stress for parents, better nutrition for kids. No more arguing over vegetables. Get yourself some Beam Kids Super Powder and have one less thing to worry about this summer.
Here we go.
Was your father well known, or was he traveling internationally a lot when you were growing up?
No, he was, up until I was like a teenager, he was primarily a stage actor in Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a well-known stage actor. He worked at the Royal Dramatic Theatre in Stockholm with Ingmar Bergman, and so he worked with the big gorillas on the big stage. So, but again, it was in Sweden, so it's quite a limited reach, and it didn't really affect me because my 12-year-old friends didn't go to the National Royal Dramatic Theatre to watch a Bergman play.
Right.
So none of my friends really knew who he was, which I really loved. But then when I was in my late teens, he did something called, he played a character named Hamilton. Not the musical Hamilton, but it's the Swedish equivalent of 007. It's like an agent. Yeah. So it's like an action, a very famous action spy, basically. And that then that was definitely something more action driven. So that was definitely something people my age would watch. And that then it got a little, I was a little uncomfortable with that because then people in my school would like, "Hey, you're a dad." Like that got a little bit uncomfortable. But he actually didn't work. He didn't start working. We spent a summer in Texas when I was 8. Dad did a movie called Noon Wine with Fred Ward, and that was after that he didn't. After that he didn't work in the States for another almost 10 years. So he was primarily in Sweden,
and then
and then occasionally movies.
Were you the kind of family that would go on vacations when he wasn't working? And if so, where? I know there's that real sort of island culture in Sweden. Were you one of those families?
Yes, there's an archipelago outside of Stockholm with thousands of small islands. But then further south in Sweden, there are 2 big islands, one called Gotland and one called Öland. And we have a family home on Öland, which going back 100 years, so 5 generations of Skarsgårds. Actually, our surname is from that island, from Skare, and which was an old Viking back in the day. So we would go down there and spend the whole summer on Öland, basically. And then occasionally we would Eurorail, take the train down to Italy a couple of times when I was a kid as well.
How long is that trip to get down to Italy?
We would do it over it was the journey was part of the adventure. So we would sleep on the train, take a night train to Hamburg and then have a day there and then, work our way Interrail style. It's all, all these cities are connected. So we would work our way down maybe 3-4 days down to Italy and then back up.
How long would you stay in Italy? Or would you just tap it and then turn around?
No, we probably a week. But it was kind of nice. At the time, it wasn't 47 of us. It was Mom, Dad, and myself and Gus and Sam, my 2 brothers. So we were lean and mean. It was only 5 of us. So we could fit into one compartment,
And would you be going to the mountains or would you be more on the coast?
Travel over the Alps, which is a beautiful train ride. Highly recommend it to your listeners. And back then, I haven't done it in 30 years, but I remember back then they had a really nice dining cars. You could sit and eat a nice lunch overlooking the Alps, and as you were driving through the mountains, it was stunning. So it was a combination of a little bit of adventure, which is super fun for us kids, and then a few days on the beach in Italy, which was also quite nice. And so we did that a bunch of times.
Do you? I picture when you're traveling with a larger group, as the family sort of is busting at the seams. You're sort of a bohemian theater family. Do you feel like you were well behaved as a group?
I mean, it was definitely herding cats because there's a lot of us and taking off in different directions. So I think we were having a blast, but in hindsight, it must have been a nightmare for Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
you're at the train station in Berlin and you got 19 kids running around in different directions,
We've established that I smash things, so I'm not judging. But were your parents temperamental on vacations, or did they keep their cool?
I think it was very stressful for my mother because Dad had a more chill attitude towards it all, and it was we'll make it. We got 4 minutes till the train departs. We'll be fine.
Yeah, that type.
And she's like, we don't know where our children are. Where are our kids? And he's like, it's fine.
Did you have to become a parent figure because you were the oldest to some of your younger siblings?
I mean, I want to say yes, because it would make me seem like a better human being than I actually am. But probably not. I don't think it helped out very much.
Okay.
No.
Do you, based on proximity now, do you guys go on adult vacations with your family and your nieces and nephews?
We do. We celebrate. So my parents are divorced, but are still very tight. And my dad and Megan, his wife, live a block away from my mom and actually got a country house on one of the islands in the archipelago outside of Stockholm, a block, like 100 yards away from my mom's country house. So it's beautiful. It is like a big extended family. And again, they, after 35 years of marriage, decided that they were better as best friends than partners. So we do with the extended family now with kids and grandkids go on trips. We went to Sri Lanka a few years ago, Bali a couple years before that, where we rent a big house, and because I think there's just between the siblings and the grandkids now, and mom and dad and Megan, I think we're 25 or 26 now. So it's a platoon of people traveling.
I'm always excited when I meet someone who's closer with their family than my wife is with hers.
Are they tight?
Yeah, they're really tight. We like we built a house next to their house. So and I kind of knew when I met her, like that would be the deal. You know, she never hid from me like how codependent it was, which I appreciate.
No, and we're building a small cabin in the woods on one of so this is not Öland. Öland is a little geography lesson here for curious Americans. So Öland is like one of the two big islands down in southern Sweden. So, but mom lives permanently in the Stockholm archipelago. Again, there's like 20,000 plus small islands outside of Stockholm, and she lives out there permanently now. Dad and Megan have a house out there, like a weekend home. And this is like, you can drive to some of the islands. Some of the islands are the size of a table and some are big where you can drive on them. And we're on an island that you can drive to. And we're having a small cabin built in the woods on the same island. So like a 3-minute walk from mom and dad's place. So to kind of be close together. So we often do holidays like Christmas, Thanksgiving together out there on the island. And then every 3 years, maybe we'll go somewhere like Sri Lanka or Bali or South Africa a few years ago. But it's it's lovely, but it's obviously like a logistical nightmare with 25 people and toddlers and teenagers and finding stuff to do for everyone. And but we often just rent a house together, and then like as long as there's like a beach and cocktails, everyone's pretty happy, or a pool and cocktails, everyone's happy.
How do you figure out bedrooms in a situation like that? Do you flex and say like, well, I mean, I'm used to a certain level of comfort at this point in my life. I've had some success. I need one of the nicer bedrooms. But with 25, I imagine you get what you get.
I try to be very magnanimous. And then I feel so good about myself when I go like, you know what, sis, you should take the master bedroom. I'm fine back here. I'll take this little room facing the street. It's all right. And then I feel disgustingly good about myself. I'm like, I'm such a good person.
Good. Yeah.
So I just want to help me picture 20,000 islands. Like, how many of them can you drive to, and how many? Like, do people have to take boats to some of them if they have houses on them, or is it all? Is everything?
Oh, let me.
Seth doesn't know how islands work.
Yeah.
No, so
surrounded by water, right?
Okay. How many can you drive to? So, a couple of them have bridges. A couple of them have car ferries.
Cool. Heard about those.
So yeah. our island is called Justra, and you drive about an hour north of Stockholm or central Stockholm, where we're based, and then it's a 5-minute car ferry And then the island is the size of Manhattan. So, but mostly, pine trees.
Gotcha.
But it's a big island with grocery stores, and you can, little, villages and stuff. But and some of the islands, especially further out in the archipelago, you have to take a private boat to get to. But there's also great boat service like ferries, smaller ferries from central Stockholm. They can do a day trip out to the islands. And again, for anyone visiting Stockholm, that is, if you're there for more than a few hours, you should definitely get on one of the Vaxholmsbåtarna. Vaxholm is one of the islands out there. And just go out and jump on a boat, you can sit and have a nice lunch and then cruise through the islands because it's pretty stunning out there.
That's amazing.
I think the U.S. equivalent would probably be up in Maine in terms of what the topography and the what it looks like out there. Lots of pine trees and islands. Yeah, it's quite a special place.
When you would go to sort of the family house on the island...
Say the name of the island, Posh. He keeps saying them, so repeat it.
Well, I was going to ask if Skaru, was he a good guy?
Nice job.
Was Skaru a good guy, that Viking that you were named after? Is there a lot of history on him?
So Skarsgård, Skare means... Gård means farm, so Skare's farm that's our last name. And all I know is that he was exceptionally handsome. Yeah, and a very, very benevolent king.
Oh, that's not what you always expect to hear about a Viking.
No, but that's why.
And also, kind of the farming Viking.
Right.
He was like, I'd love to just get back to the garden.
Yeah, that's why he didn't go down in the history books as some of the most famous Vikings because he wasn't out raping and pillaging. He was
more of a tillager than a pillager.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah.
He had a bottle episode on Vikings that everybody said was the worst one.
Yeah, it was just him sitting around like asking everyone for consensus and like, what do you guys want to do? Like, guys, we need to treat women better with respect.
Also, this is their stuff. Like, I don't think we can just take it.
Exactly.
So when you would go out to this house on the island, would you spend your whole summers there, or would you?
No, pretty much.
What would you do out there? Like, if as a kid, how would you entertain yourself? Would you all be together with like a group of your siblings, or would you go off on your own and just run through the pine forests or swimming? Like, what are activities that keep you busy?
Well, when I was a kid, we didn't have the place in the Stockholm archipelago.
Okay.
We only had Öland. We got the place in the archipelago when I was 19. So I don't really have. Up until then, we would always. Öland is about a 5-hour drive from Stockholm, so that was a place where we would like pack up our Fiat Panda and then drive down, and after and then spend 2 months down there. But you wouldn't go down.
You would
there
take like the size of the Panda. It would take like 5 trips, right? Somebody would go, then come back, pick up another 2
No,
kids.
they would cram it into it, and God, both mom and dad were like chain smokers, so they would sit up front and just like smoke in that small with 3 kids in the back seat and 45 bags and 2 big dogs. But then we would like set camp and be down there for 2 months. But that was part of the reason they got the place in the Stockholm archipelago, because you can actually go out there. It's an hour away from central Stockholm. So you can go out there on a weekend or, so. But yeah, what do you do out there? It's you hang out, you go swimming or kayaking, or we have a little boat.
Were your brothers a good hang? Were they a part of your, like, did you guys do a lot of stuff together?
Yeah. And so, again, growing up in Stora Rör, this village on Öland, that Stora Rör is where my parents met. So, like I mentioned earlier, like in the apartment above our apartment, mom's older brother, Johan, lived and still lives. And dad and Johan became best friends because they were kids, and our grandparents had houses in the same village on Öland. So that's how they met and were like summer buddies. And then mom was 5 years younger. And then classic case of like suddenly one summer, and she was always like annoying little kid, and then suddenly one summer dad showed up, and his best friend's annoying little kid was suddenly like 18 and very pretty. And that's how that story started.
Right. I think one of the takeaways of this pod is if you're waiting for an apartment in Stockholm to open up, keep waiting, since everybody in your story is like still lives lives in the place. Like, I mean, sometimes they move out, but then they split it in two and give it to their children.
Yeah, for sure. But so we have, again, because both on my mom's side and my dad's side, strong like roots in this village from going 5 generations back. That means there's like 200 cousins, you know, and aunts and uncles, and everyone is there. Most people live in Stockholm, but go down for the summer. So it was always a good hang. No matter what age you were, like you'd have tons of relatives and fun people to hang out with down there.
I know this isn't a family trip, but it is very unique that we're talking to somebody who has been to the South Pole. And so, if you don't mind, I'd love to dig into that journey of yours.
Yeah.
So this was a charitable trip that you took?
It was, yes, with this British charity called Walking with the Wounded. We skied to the South Pole with 21 soldiers.
And now, when you, what's the first thing you do? Like, where do you fly to begin your trip to the South Pole?
So we flew down to, we flew down to Cape Town and then took a cargo plane from Cape Town to this Russian base on the coast of Antarctica. And then we trained there for a week. Has some amazing Indian food.
Oh, yeah, they say that's the place to get it.
If you want some great dal, go down to Antarctica.
To Russian, you got to go to the Russian base.
In Antarctica.
It was because we were out training.
That's like the Fiat Panda, I would say. That's a Fiat Panda of food.
But we stumbled upon an Indian research station because we had a week of training on the coast, and we're out one day and just stumbled upon this Indian research station, and they were very generous and hospitable and invited us in for a great Indian lunch. And classic like Bollywood music video movie was playing in the background, and fully decked out research station. And then after that, so a week later, we flew up to the plateau, the 87th degree, and then we skied for about 3 weeks on the ice to the South Pole.
Wow.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
Support comes from Visit Baltimore. Pashi!
Sufi!
Baltimore, can I tell you about it?
Please.
Because it's often overlooked, but it definitely belongs on your vacation radar as a rising star in the U.S. You can forget your usual big cities where you end up lost in a crowd. Instead, experience the charm of Baltimore. It's known as what, Pashi?
Charm City.
We have talked a lot about fun that grown-ups can have in Baltimore, but now kids, everybody likes to take family trips with kids.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a wild day out in Baltimore, Maryland Zoo, home to over 1,500 animals. And before you ask, no, 1,000 of them are not bugs. That's sometimes a lot of these lesser zoos will trick you, and then you find out it's mostly bugs. These guys, they got playful penguins, towering giraffes, roaring lions. You can feed, explore, and get closer than ever, then dive into adventure based on the setup of Dive Into the Adventure. What do you think I'm talking about, Pashi?
The National Aquarium?
A must-see since 1981. You could touch stingrays, explore glowing reefs, and come face-to-face with sharks and even dolphins. Science gets seriously fun at the Maryland Science Center, located in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. 3 floors of hands-on exhibits where you can walk with full-size dinosaurs, splash around in the kids' room, explore the human body, or launch into space. In the planetarium, there's an IMAX theater. Love an IMAX theater. The one problem with my IMAX theater with my kids,
what's that?
Axel's, his eye's so weird. 3D glasses don't work.
Oh, no.
I know, it's a bummer, but he's still going to live a full life. And if you're ready for a day of high seas adventure, climb aboard the fearless pirate ship with urban pirates and let your kids live out their pirate dreams. complete with treasure hunts, pirate games, dancing, and blasting water cannons on a real family adventure cruise. I will tell you that of everything, when I mentioned these to my kids, they were most excited about the Fearless pirate ship.
Absolutely. Well, they are a group of little scallywags.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, do you want to go see dinosaur bones? And they were like, we want to pillage. Plan your visit today at Baltimore.org. Baltimore is just a quick drive or train ride from New York, Philly, and D.C. That's Baltimore.org. Go to Baltimore.org. Baltimore's slogan is, you won't get it till you get here. Go to Baltimore.org to plan your vacation or getaway today. Support comes from Cayman Jack, America's #1 margarita. What's up, Baji?
Hey, Sufi.
Summer's coming.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
I know what you like to drink in the summer.
A margarita. It just feels right.
Yeah, it just feels right in the summer. It's good all 12 months of the year, but the summer is a good time to kick off your 12 months of margaritas. Cayman Jack brings the margarita taste you know from your favorite beach bar. Wherever you are, no mixing, no fuss. Made with real blue agave nectar and lime juice, it's the premium margarita-flavored experience that fits in your hand.
You know what I like about cracking a Cayman Jack, Suf?
What's that?
It's a transformative experience.
Oh.
It transports you to your margarita state of mind, that beachy, tropical paradise where your legendary flavor dreams come true.
Perfect for days you're by the pool, house parties, or just hanging with your crew. It's available in a variety of flavors. A variety, I tell you.
Yeah, you live in New York, I'm out in LA, and we've already had some pretty hot days. And I've already had an occasion to be dipping in a buddy's pool, and I just love floating around in a pool with a Cayman Jack margarita, sipping on that, little music going. It feels like you're on vacation.
So crack into your margarita state of mind. Pick up Cayman Jack at your local store or visit CaymanJack.com to find it near you. Please drink responsibly. Premium malt beverage with natural flavors. American Vintage Beverage Co., Chicago, Illinois.
Are most Swedish people good on, I'm assuming these are cross-country skis. You're a good cross-country skier, or you're a very good cross-country skier?
I'm a terrible cross-country skier, and I think when they invited me, they assumed that, like, oh, Alex, Swedish, of course you can ski. And most Swedes are pretty good skiers. Like, most Swedes go up, like, during the winter break or spring break up to northern Sweden or down to the Alps to ski. Again, I come from a very bohemian family of not very sporty people, so we never did that as a kid. And then I kind of never really. I was snowboarding a little bit when I lived in California in Mammoth, but I've never skied in Sweden.
I like that there was a week of training. It was actually supposed to be an hour until they saw you on skis, and they're like, I don't think we can leave yet. I think we got to do like a much. We have to give Alexander a full 7 days tutorials here.
And we got to find a place to get some good food because we're going to be here for a hot
Did
minute.
we just assume he could do it? Yeah, we just assumed he could do it.
Yeah, but that's kind of how I ended up on the trip. It was, I'd been to Greenland the year prior to that. And then I was in New York. I was having dinner with some friends, and a friend of a friend is an explorer and was going to be the main explorer of this mission, this trip to Antarctica or the South Pole. And he just asked, like, hey, would you want to come? This is, next month. And I was shooting True Blood in LA at the time, and we were on hiatus. So I had a bit of a break, and I was like, well, it's not every day you get invited down to the South Pole. So I just said yes. And obviously didn't tell him that I couldn't ski. But I think what saved me was it's really flat. Like once you get up to the plateau, it's completely flat. So you're basically, and you're pulling these like heavy sleds behind you with all the gear and stuff. So you're basically walking very, very slowly on. It's almost like snow boots, like snowshoes. You're not really skiing, so you don't really have to have much technique to.
I like basically what I heard is like good. The good news is you didn't have to know how to ski because it was terrible.
Yeah. Because there's no skiing involved, basically.
Yeah, but like you gotta, if you want 3 weeks of just slowly walking in boots while you drag a heavy load.
That was it.
How many hours a day were you moving?
We probably maybe nine or 10.
Wow.
And then where do you sleep? Are there camps already set up, or do you have to get somewhere?
We brought tents with us, and so we pulled all our gear and food and everything. But it was interesting because it's like once you're up there, it's not like nature programs from Antarctica where you see the whales and the cute penguins and all that. They're obviously on the coast. Like once you're up on the plateau, there's 10,000 feet of ice. So there's no life, there's no vegetation. And there's also like no sense of, I've been on a couple of longer hikes, and you always feel a sense of progress or like forward momentum. Like, you wake up in the morning and you look at the next peak and you're like, all right, by sundown, we're going to reach that peak. And you feel like, you're making some progress. But it's kind of weird when you're down in Antarctica because it's almost constantly, again, we were there the winter months, which is their summer. So it's like daylight 24/7. And almost always high pressure. So it's like sunshine and almost no clouds, no precipitation. And it all looks the same. Like you set out in the morning and then you slowly walk for 10 hours. And then you're like, all right, this is where, and you're like, is this where we started 10 hours ago? Because it looks exactly the same.
Also, I would imagine there's nothing, not only just day to day, but like at the end, did somebody just say like, yep, this is it.
We're here.
No, and that was, so for 2.5 weeks, we saw nothing, like no humans, no animals, no vegetation, like there, absolutely nothing. I saw the ass of the guy in front of me for 2.5 weeks, basically, as we were skiing.
Well, you got to switch the asses.
We switched asses, so I saw a lot of asses, to be honest with you. Right. A lot of great asses. But once you start to get close to the actual South Pole, it's weird because it's like a massive edifice. It's like a big research station.
Okay.
So you kind of have this like romantic notion of like planting the flag, like Amundsen or Scott, or like, we made it. But then the journey there is a very like isolated experience. But once you get there, there's like a big research station. So you walk in and there's like a yoga studio and a cantina and like, little greenhouse and like a basketball court and like 200 people working. So it's like, still a really cool experience to be like the southernmost humans on the planet.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple of Icelandic dudes with us, and they had a portable sauna. So we set up the sauna on the South Pole and had a good steam and drank some Icelandic aquavit and celebrated. And that was a delightful day.
Apologies for my ignorance. Do you then have to walk back, or at that point, do they let you like whatever the Uber equivalent is?
Oh yeah. If you're badass, then you got to make it. You turn around, then you ski back. But we Ubered with a terrible surcharge.
Wait times are longer than usual.
Do they have like a big? What kind of vehicle are you sort of getting out of there on?
We on a really big old DC-3 prop plane.
Oh, so you just fly out of the South Pole?
Yeah, they have a couple of like rugged, tough Canadian pilots flying back and forth.
Wow.
From the station to the coast. But they only do that like 7 or 8 months out of the year. The summer months when it's completely dark, there's no, like they shut down, you can't fly in and out. So those scientists and people working at the station are completely isolated those months. It's like pitch black, -50, and no way out. So great set for like a horror movie.
Yeah. That was that last True Detective, I feel like, how that was in that world. And I was like, it's a good place. It's a good place for spooky stuff.
It works.
Did you, have you traveled much? You have a 3-year-old?
Yes.
Is it, I mean, for work, have they traveled, and are they a good traveler?
Yeah, I did a show in Toronto last year, and he came out a bunch of times. So like we would schedule it in a way where I would have some breaks. I could go home because it was a long shoot. It was 6 months.
Is this Murderbot? Is that where you shot that?
Yeah, we shot Murderbot in Toronto, and he wasn't even 2 when we was 1.5 when we started, and turned 2 out there. So we just kind of had to figure out a way, because obviously I didn't want to be away from him for 5-6 months. So I had a couple of breaks, and then he came out and spent about 2 months out there with me out there. Yeah. He didn't like the robot, but he had a good time out there.
Yeah, I could see that.
As robots shows go, I would say it's the least suited for kids.
Well, and then because I also have
he's pretty friendly, I will say.
He is friendly. As Murderbots go, he's
friendly, but he came to set to visit, and my character has these like gun ports like in his arms or its arms, and my son did not like that. He was just like he couldn't say much at the time. He was about to turn 2, so he didn't speak much, but he did say "bort," which means away in Swedish. He was just away. He's a little pacifist. What can I say? He's a little
that's great. Again,
he's a Skarsgård. So
he's a Skarsgård.
He's a farming Viking. Did you, when you joined the military, did you travel? Does the Swedish military stay in one place? Did you like go all over Sweden?
I was stationed in the Archipelago, actually, outside of Stockholm. Mm-hmm. So we were primarily out there. We did a little winter training a bit further up north, but mostly on the islands.
How long was your military commitment?
1.5 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I'm going to assume it was an act of rebellion. And how did your parents respond when you gave them the news?
I think everybody does. Isn't it compulsory?
No, it is. It used to be.
Okay.
But I was on the cusp of like, it was technically still compulsory, but you could easily get out of it. This was like late 90s, early 2000s, end of the Cold War. Everyone was like, it'll be peace forever. And, Russia is our best friend.
Yeah.
So
it was a fun run. We did all feel that way in the late 90s.
We had a good run, didn't we?
Yeah.
So they were dismantling military stations all around Sweden. So I think I joined probably as an act of rebellion, maybe against my hippie, bohemian, pacifist family. And the reaction I got was a shrug.
Yeah. Bohemians are good at that. Nobody can shrug like them.
You try to pick a fight, like, what do you say now, Dad? And he's like, oh, that's great. If you want to do that, go do that. That's wonderful. So, yeah, it was. And no, but I joined just because I was 19. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't really know what I wanted to study.
Yeah.
And classic like recruiter story. Like I was walking through a park in Stockholm and they handed me this pamphlet and it looked badass. Like you got to swim and dive and jump off ships and run around on islands and as a small unit. And it was like counter-terrorism sabotage stuff. And I was like, hey, this sounds great. So I think it was a little bit of just like I was growing up in Södermalm in South Stockholm, like in the central part of this part of the city, very like concrete jungle. I think I wanted a bit of an adventure for myself and just like do something different from what I was used to. And probably also a bit of subconsciously rebelling against my dad and my extended bohemian family.
Such a good burn to not see it as an act of rebellion. Like as a parent, that's the best thing you can do.
All
right. Well,
great.
Good to know. Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
This will sound like a brag until I finish this story, but I ran the first half of the Stockholm Marathon before.
Did you?
Yeah. I overtrained.
It's the best half.
It's the best half. Oh my God. Everybody says after the first half, it's kind of redundant.
You might as well quit.
The second half is the Archipelago. So Seth's never seen it.
exactly.
I had overtrained and had like IT band issues. So I had a bad feeling that I wouldn't be able to, that I was going to have an issue. But I ran the first half and it is gorgeous. And it was like, my dream is sort of a rainy day. And it was like a perfect, like running in the rain. I loved it. It was a gray, wet day in Stockholm. Having the time
how many years
of my
ago
life.
was this?
2015, I think.
Okay.
And it was also, I liked the anonymity of like running in a place where, nobody would know who I was. And then at like mile 14, my knee buckled and I had to like literally lean against what I'm realizing now was a sob. And so I was like leaning against a sob and like so much pain. And a Swedish kid ran by. He was like, "Hi, Seth Meyers." Sorry, I know he didn't sound like that, but that's my memory. But like immediately, hello.
Step away from my Fiat Panda.
Yeah, I will give you a ride. But it was still a special time. You were there, right, Posh? Did you come on that one?
Not for that one, but Seth did run the Helsinki Marathon years earlier, and as part of that, we sort of went to a bunch of European cities, and we went to Stockholm. That's the first time I went to Stockholm.
Yeah,
the first half of the Helsinki Marathon.
No, full one. He ran all. I was doing fulls. It's great. I think it's an accomplishment to do a half marathon, unless you were planning on doing a full, in which case it's not as cool.
100%. I mean, a 5K is an accomplishment.
5K is an accomplishment.
We
had an interesting thing. Tell us if this would fit with how you feel as though your country perceives the rest of Scandinavia. We started in Copenhagen, and we were talking to Danish people, and they're like, "Where are you going next?" And we were like, "We're going to Stockholm." And they're like, "Ugh, why are you going to Sweden?" Real negative about their neighbor. And then when we were in Stockholm, we were like, "Where are they?" They're like, "Where are you going to next?" We're like, "We're going to Helsinki." And they were like, "Ugh, why are you going?" Like everybody thought they were making a mistake leaving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was not a lot of love for their neighbors.
I don't know. I quite enjoy both Helsinki and Copenhagen.
We loved them all. Yeah.
I know that because Sweden is a small country, a small population, but comparatively to the other Scandinavian countries, the Nordic countries, it's the largest country with the largest population. And Stockholm is the biggest city in Scandinavia. So I know that a lot of other, Danes and Norwegians and Finns think Swedes are a bit cocky and that we're better than they are, and that we're like, little cute little Copenhagen, cute little Helsinki. Well, we're from Stockholm, as if that's like a massive cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
So I think Swedes can be a little obnoxious and annoying.
It's probably like how Philly and Boston feel about New York.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Where they're closer than they want to admit.
The last time I was in Stockholm, we were in a taxi going to a museum, and our taxi driver's like, "Why are you going there?" And I was like, I don't know. We're tourists. And he was like, "Okay." He's like, "What else are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, we're going to go to this museum and we're, going to go to this park." He's like, "Why are you going to do those things?" I was like, what am I supposed to do?
He should be a tour guide.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is a Scandinavian thing because my wife and I were hiking in Norway years ago, and we sort of got to one of these huts in the mountain and in the mountains, and the people were like, "Why are you here? You should be further north." And I'm like, "I am exactly where you are. Like, why are you here? Like, I'm doing exactly what you're doing."
Well, that's why Scandinavians are inherently depressed and very gloomy, and everything is just kind of there's a nice level of melancholy.
But they're also you also rank so high on those happiest countries.
I think that's the key.
We set our
you got to be
expectations really low.
Yes.
Low expectations. That's the key. You'll never be disappointed.
Yeah. On real quick on that trip that where Seth ran the Helsinki Marathon and we were in Stockholm, we stayed at a hotel that had the best breakfast we have ever experienced. We think about it all the time. It was a buffet. It was like the 101 item buffet, and it went until 1 p.m. You didn't have to wake up from 8 to 10 to get this breakfast. And we went down every morning and we ate so many meatballs every morning for breakfast.
For breakfast?
Yeah, it was the breakfast.
We were excited to be in Sweden.
It was the most breakfast meatballs I ever ate. The previous record had been 0.
Because that's more of a brunch thing. Normally on a breakfast spread in Sweden, you don't find meatballs, but a big buffet style complimentary breakfast is a thing in Sweden. Yeah. When you check into a hotel in Sweden, you kind of expect that. So that's why Swedes are a bit disappointed when they go to the States and breakfast is first not included.
Yeah.
And it's also like a la carte. So you have to order, like, no, you want the spread. You want to,
I think that's a very special thing about a nice European hotel is like, we appreciate, like, look, you're paying a lot of money to be here. The very least we could do is some like bread, some cheese.
Some meatballs.
Some meatballs in a perfect world. It is so lovely to see you as always. Thank you for your time. I also want to just shout out, I know we've talked about it before, but you once traveled to Wales to shoot an episode of documentary now, Soldiers of Illusion, which is, I mean, one of favorite things I've ever worked on, and you were so kind to do it. You're so wonderful in it, and I highly recommend.
That was one of my favorite experiences on a set. Honestly, we had so much fun. I loved every second of it. So, no, thank you guys. And John Mulaney, who wrote it, was just so funny. And
it's unbelievable.
I loved it. So, thank you guys. And have fun in Amsterdam next week.
Yes.
My buddy
Good
Jack.
to see your friend Jack McBrayer. We're very excited.
He's coming out here, actually. He's my son's godfather.
Oh, great. He's going to go visit. Wonderful.
Yeah, he's going to come here.
I bet he's never been there. He's never been to Amsterdam. So finally, it took a lot of friends to get Jack to go to Europe.
I know. I actually went to Greenland with him. That's for our next episode of your show. But yeah, Jack and I went to Greenland.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have Jack and you on together to talk about your adventures to Greenland.
Yeah. Call me from Amsterdam. I'll be around.
Okay, good. Before you go, we have a speed round of questions that Josh is going to kick off.
Okay, here we go. You can only pick one of these. Is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Adventurous.
What is your favorite means of transportation?
Train.
If you could take a vacation with any family, alive or dead, real or fictional, other than your own family, what family would you like to take a vacation with?
The Meyers brothers.
Thank you. Good call. We don't get that answer enough.
If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
My son.
Nice.
And Stockholm is your hometown. You were born in Stockholm, yeah? Or Stockholm's got to be your hometown.
Yeah.
Would you recommend Stockholm as a vacation destination?
Yes, if you include the archipelago, then for sure.
All right. Great. I've been twice, and I still haven't made the archipelago. But I love it.
That and the first part of the Stockholm Marathon. Highly recommend.
Highly recommend. Because it does, I will say, and I don't want to burn your city, but this is when you realize they're a little bit smaller than New York. It does kind of double back. I really do think I would have seen.
It really does.
Yeah, I would have seen the same stuff.
Yeah.
And then Seth has our final questions.
Have you been to the Grand Canyon?
I have.
And was it worth it?
It was too impressive. It looked fake.
Okay.
I mean, short answer is 100% worth it. Go.
I don't know. You kind of hesitated, and so I think it's a pass for me. But
no, but I couldn't comprehend the scale of it. I think that's what it was.
Who wants a trip they can't comprehend it? I want to go somewhere where I don't want to feel like my brain's too small.
Yeah, the second half of the Stockholm Marathon was going to blow Seth's mind, so he pulled back.
You know what I want to see? The world's biggest ball of yarn. Got it. What a pleasure, Alexander. It's always so nice to see you. We're jealous that you get to see Jack after we get to see Jack, but have fun with him.
Enjoy my leftovers.
Okay, will do. Bye, buddy.
All right. Thanks guys.
Brother.
See ya. Ciao.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers.